For some reason, motorcycles attract more myths than any other vehicle on Earth. Maybe it's the danger, maybe it's the freedom, or maybe it's just that guy at the gas station who's definitely been riding since the 70s and has no idea the world's moved on. Either way, a lot of riders walk around repeating stuff that sounds deep and experienced, until you realize it's complete nonsense, and not just harmless nonsense. Some of these myths are the reason people crash, die, or ride like idiots thinking they're being safe. So today we're busting 12 of the most common, outdated, and flat-out stupid motorcycle myths that people still believe. I've already mentioned some of these in previous videos, but I'll keep repeating them as long as I'm still hearing people spread them. Number 1. Loud pipes save lives. Let's get one thing straight. Loud pipes might make you feel safer, but they don't actually protect you in any reliable way. The problem isn't the noise, it's the myth itself. Because when you keep saying, loud pipes save lives, what you're really teaching people is, don't worry, if there's a motorcycle nearby, you'll hear it. And that is incredibly dangerous. It tells drivers not to double check their blind spots. It tells pedestrians they don't need to look both ways. It tells everyone on the road that if it's quiet, it's safe to move, which simply isn't true. Motorcycles aren't always loud. Some are whisper quiet, and electric vehicles, silent assassins. But if the culture keeps reinforcing this myth, people are going to let their guard down and miss the bikes that need to be seen the most. Sure, maybe one rider gets saved because someone happened to hear him. But that's luck, not a safety feature. And luck doesn't scale. In fact, this myth probably gets more people hurt than it helps, because it trains the world to ignore quiet bikes completely. If you want to stay alive, don't rely on your exhaust. Rely on skill, awareness, and never assuming you've been noticed. Number 2. Lay the bike down to avoid a crash. This one refuses to die. You'll still hear old-timers swear by it. Just lay her down, kid. Like they're performing a tactical maneuver instead of crashing on purpose. But let's be clear. Laying the bike down is not a safety technique. It's a crash, a preventable one. The myth made sense in the 70s when bikes had drum brakes, garbage tires, and frames that handled like wet spaghetti. Back then, sometimes sliding into a crash zone did give you more control than trying to brake upright. But this ain't 1974. Modern motorcycles have high-performance disc brakes, ABS, grippy tires, and suspension that can stop you faster than your brain can panic. If you're trained and focused, you have a much better shot staying upright and braking hard than you do throwing your bike into the dirt like an action movie stuntman. Plus, laying it down often leads to more injury. You're now sliding uncontrollably with your leg under the bike, and you've given up your most powerful tools, your brakes and tires. The truth? Most riders who laid it down actually just panicked, locked up the brakes, lost control, and fell. Then they rewrite the story to sound intentional. Don't be that guy. Learn how to stop, not how to crash. Number 3. You don't need gear if you're just going around the corner. Ah, yes, the classic. I'm just going down the street, no need for gear. Right, because asphalt becomes soft and forgiving within a 5-block radius of your house. This myth is usually spoken right before someone eats it doing 25 miles an hour in a neighborhood and ends up looking like they lost a fight with a cheese grater. It doesn't matter if you're running a quick errand, grabbing coffee, or testing a new mod in the driveway. Gravity doesn't care. Neither does the car that didn't see you pulling out of the parking lot. Statistically, most motorcycle accidents happen close to home. That's not because your driveway's cursed, it's because that's where you ride the most. And when you're casual about gear, those quick rides become high risk for low reward injuries. Low-speed crashes can still break bones, tear ligaments, and leave you with permanent scars, especially if you're in sneakers, gym shorts, and a t-shirt that says, "Live fast." Wearing real gear isn't about looking cool or pretending you're in MotoGP. It's about not letting a 5-minute ride turn into 5 months of physical therapy. Yes, it's a pain to suit up just to grab milk. but it's a bigger pain when your skin gets peeled off on the way there. Number 4. You have to warm up the engine for 10 minutes before riding. This one's been passed down like a family recipe for ruining spark plugs. Some riders still swear their bike needs to idle in the driveway for 10 full minutes before touching the throttle, like it's a sleepy grandpa waking up from hibernation. But here's the thing. Unless you're on a 1973 kickstart-only two-stroke with a bad attitude, your fuel-injected bike is smarter than you think. It adjusts fueling and idle based on temperature. Most modern engines are ready to ride after just 30 to 6 for nothing, risking carbon buildup, and slowly cooking your plugs and exhaust with no airflow. Worse, it trains you to wait instead of ride. Yes, you should ride gently until the engine reaches full temp, but that doesn't mean wasting 10 minutes in your driveway looking like you're waiting for a pit crew. Get rolling, keep the revs calm, and the engine will warm up the way it was designed to, under light load, not in a parking lot heat soak. Save your fuel, save your engine, and maybe save your neighbors from hating you every morning. Number 5. You can't use the front brake or you'll flip over. This one has terrified generations of new riders into treating the front brake like it's a self-destruct button. You'll hear it from that one guy at the gas station. "Careful with that front brake, kid. Touch it too hard and you'll go flying over the bars." Nope, not how physics or motorcycles work. The front brake is your best tool for stopping. On pavement with good tires, up to 70 to 90% of your braking power comes from the front. Why? Because as you slow down, your weight shifts forward. More weight equals more traction. That's what allows the front tire to dig in and do its job. The only way you're flipping the bike is if you grab the brake like you're swatting a bee while riding downhill at warp speed with zero body position. And even then, it's rare. Modern sport bikes, touring bikes, and even some cruisers are engineered to prevent that kind of drama. What's actually dangerous is avoiding the front brake and relying only on the rear. That's how you end up with long stopping distances, skid marks on the road and in your pants, and a much higher crash risk. Learn how to use the front brake properly. Progressive pressure, straight bars, weight transfer. It's not scary, it's smart. Number 6. More CCs means a faster bike. This one sounds logical, until you ride a Yamaha R6 and realize it'll outrun half the cruisers on the highway without breaking a sweat. Displacement isn't speed. It's not even close to the full story. Yes, bigger engines can make more power, but only if they're designed for it. A Harley 114 has 1,868 cc. A CBR 600RR has 599 cc. Guess which one will destroy the other in a drag race? Spoiler alert, it's the one that revs to 15,000 RPM and weighs 200 pounds less. What matters is power to weight ratio, engine design, gearing, aerodynamics, and how that power is delivered. Sport bikes are tuned to make power up high. Cruisers and tours are tuned for torque down low. Same goes for adventure bikes. They can be 1,000cc monsters and still feel slower than a 650 if they're loaded down and tuned for low-stress travel. It's not just about what the spec sheet says. It's about how that power gets to the ground and how fast the rest of the bike is moving with it. So don't assume the guy on the smaller bike is slow. He might be able to outbrake you, out-tune you, and out-launch you before you can even downshift. CCs sell bikes. Power to weight wins races. Number 7. Cruisers are safer than sport bikes. People love to say this one like it's gospel. I got a cruiser because it's safer than a crotch rocket. But slower doesn't automatically mean safer. In fact, it often means the opposite, because many riders let their guard down the moment they're not going fast. Cruisers tend to have longer stopping distances, less ground clearance, softer suspension, and more weight to manage in tight situations. That doesn't make them dangerous, but it does make mistakes harder to recover from. And when newer riders believe they're riding the safe option, they often overestimate their ability. Plenty of cruiser crashes happen on mellow country roads. Low siding in corners, target fixation, grabbing the front brake mid-turn, all common. You're also more likely to hit parts like footboards or pegs in a lean, which can lever the bike off the ground and cause a wipeout. And because cruisers are built for stability, not agility, they're harder to correct when something goes wrong, especially when that relaxed position doesn't let you react fast. Truth is, the safest bike is the one you can control the best, and that could be a naked, a sport bike, or yes, a cruiser, if you respect what it can and can't do. It's not what you ride, it's how you ride. Number 8. Helmets break necks in a crash. This myth refuses to die, and it's one of the most dangerous lies out there. The idea is that a helmet's added weight creates more force on your neck during a crash, supposedly making it more likely to break. But reality and actual data says otherwise. Modern helmets are designed to absorb impact, reduce rotational forces, and protect both your skull and cervical spine. Study after study has shown that wearing a helmet actually reduces the risk of neck injury in a crash, not increases it. The myth came from a handful of outdated, poorly interpreted studies from the 80s, and since then, the science has completely flipped the narrative. You know what really breaks necks? Smashing your unprotected head into the pavement or a car. Helmets reduce the whip effect of your head snapping on impact, and most now use MIPS or a similar tech to help manage rotational acceleration, the real neck killer. People spread this myth to justify not wearing a helmet, often because they value freedom over safety. You can't be free if you're dead or paralyzed. There's no debate left on this one. Helmets don't break necks, they save lives. If anyone says otherwise, they're stuck in the past or just looking for excuses. Number 9. It's safer to ride without ABS. You'll learn more. This one sounds noble. The idea is, real riders don't need ABS. They learn to modulate brakes like a pro. But let's be honest, this is ego talking, not logic. Anti-lock braking systems exist for the same reasons seatbelts and traction control do. They step in when things go wrong, and things will go wrong, especially on wet pavement or gravel, or when a distracted driver pulls out in front of you and you don't have 3 seconds to perfectly feather the lever. Yes, learning to brake properly is essential, but that doesn't mean ABS makes you lazy, it just gives you a backup plan. And in emergency situations, ABS can save your life. The data's clear. Bikes with ABS are significantly less likely to be involved in fatal crashes. It's not opinion, it's math. Riding without ABS doesn't make you more skilled, it just makes you more vulnerable. You don't learn more by locking up your front wheel and eating asphalt. You learn more by practicing braking regularly, building muscle memory, and keeping your skin intact. You can turn ABS off if you're riding on dirt or in specific situations, but calling it dangerous or a crutch on the road is just plain stupid. Number 10. Motorcycles are more fuel efficient than cars. People love to throw this one around like it's gospel. I ride because it saves gas. And sure, on paper that sounds right. Bikes are smaller, lighter, and have smaller engines. So they must use less fuel, right? Not necessarily. Some do. A 250cc commuter bike sipping 2 liters per 100 kilometers. Absolutely. But that's not what most people are riding. Modern motorcycles, especially sporty ones, are built for performance, not economy. High revving engine, aggressive throttle mapping, and terrible aerodynamics mean your average rider burns through fuel way faster than they think. A super sport can easily do worse mileage than a compact car, especially if you ride it like it begs to be ridden. Even big adventure bikes can get thirsty when loaded up with gear and doing highway speeds into a headwind. And let's not forget the rider factor. Most bikers don't ride efficiently. They launch off stoplights, hover near redline, and treat every corner like a time trial. Fuel efficiency? It's an afterthought. So yes, bikes can be more efficient, but it's not a given. If you bought a motorcycle thinking it would automatically save you money at the pump, you're in for a surprise. Especially when you factor in frequent tire changes, chain maintenance, and premium gas. Number 11. You can tell if a chain's good just by looking. This is the kind of myth that sounds logical, until you realize how wrong it is. You see a shiny, clean chain and think, yeah, that's solid. But a chain isn't like a car's paint job. Its health isn't skin deep. Internal wear, tight spots, and stretch don't show up in a casual glance. And that factory lube sheen? It can make even a dying chain look showroom ready. A worn-out chain can still look fine while hiding stiff links, uneven wear, or damaged O-rings. And let's not forget about sprockets. If they're shark-toothed, your chain's probably toast too, even if it's clean. But again, if you're not checking slack, listening for noise, or measuring wear properly, you won't know until it's too late. Worse, some beginners never check it at all. They assume a chain lasts forever, until it starts skipping under load or slapping the swing arm like a steel belt of doom. So here's the truth. Looking isn't checking. A real chain inspection means getting hands-on, checking for play, measuring stretch, spinning the wheel, and watching for tight spots. Because when a chain finally snaps or derails mid-ride, it doesn't care how pretty it looked. It just ruins your day and maybe your leg. Number 12. Bigger tires give you more grip. This one feels intuitive. Bigger tire equals more rubber equals more grip, right? Not exactly. In fact, slapping oversized tires on your bike can actually reduce grip, especially where it matters most, corners. Your bike's suspension, geometry, and handling are all designed around a specific tire size. Go too wide and the profile of the tire changes. Instead of a nice rounded contact patch that lets you lean smoothly, you get a flatter one that resists turn-in and kills agility. It's like replacing your scalpel with a frying pan. Plus, a wider tire doesn't necessarily mean a larger, usable contact patch. In some cases, you're putting less rubber on the road during lean angles, not more. And if the compound isn't matched to your riding style or weight, doesn't matter how big the tire is, it'll still slide like a greased bowling ball. Wider tires can also mess with your speedometer, reduce fuel economy, and make your bike feel sluggish off the line. All that, just to chase a myth. The truth? Grip comes from compound, pressure, suspension setup, and temperature, not width alone. Unless you've got a real reason and a real plan, stick with the manufacturer's recommended size. Because in motorcycle handling, bigger is often just dumber. There's no shame in falling for a myth, unless you keep spreading it after knowing better. Motorcycles already come with enough real risks. We don't need to add bad information on top of it. So the next time someone drops one of these tired old lines, hit the brakes, ask questions, share the truth. And if you got a myth I didn't mention, drop it in the comments. Because the only thing more powerful than horsepower is unlearning dumb stuff together.